From mid-century to contemporary, public to private, we're in search of the very best in art, homes, happenings, stores, restaurants, and people. Things that defy categories. The perpetual freshness and cool of modern never ceases to captivate us. Join us for another edition of Modern Dallas TV to discover what's going on and where in the modern world. It's the holiday edition of the Dallas Modernist Meetup, December 13th, 6 to 8 p.m., hosted by Scott plus Kuna in the Dallas Design District. RSVP on Facebook at Dallas Modernist Meetup, and we'll see you there. Modern Dallas Real Estate this week is at 5015 Vickery. We're here in the Knox-Henderson area at two spectacular townhomes, and I'm here with Paul Jankowski, the architect, Jay McGee, the designer, and together you guys have modern living dwellings. And Paul, you know, it's interesting, we walk into this beautiful townhouse and it feels like it's so open and airy, but it's got sort of this New York loft feel. Tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Well, what we do is we design custom homes for the retail market, kind of like what ready-to-wear is to the fashion industry. And this is our latest project. It's a very contemporary, very modern house designed for the way we live today. This particular property is 3,600 square feet on 3 floors. And the interesting features of this house are the first floor is dedicated to a guest suite that's designed like hotel rooms with a living area and 2 sleeping rooms and bathrooms. The second floor is dedicated to living space and entertaining with an open living, dining, kitchen, a spectacular 2-story outdoor room. And in the back of the house is a more secluded den, office, whatever you want it to be room that feels like a treehouse. And the third floor is dedicated to the master suite only.
It's absolutely wonderful. One of the things that you mentioned is this 2-story outdoor area. That's quite significant. What was the thought? Because you don't just see that in every home that we go in Dallas.
When we first found this property, we were drawn to these 2 magnificent oak trees that are on the front of the property. And so the home was designed with these 2-story rooms that focused on those 2 oak trees. So from anywhere in the house, you get a view of those oak trees.
Amazing. So Jay, from a design standpoint, they're great finishes, but there are a lot of features and benefits to this house. Give us a sense what people would see if they come to an open house here.
Well, Jeff, the house is well appointed as a luxury home. It's amazing that you are in the middle of an urban setting, but you also have a sense of bringing the outside in. You can view it from here, you have a great view, and you can enjoy the indoor-outdoor living. The kitchen is designed with an oversized island, all built-in appliance package, Bertazzoni cooking, Liebherr refrigeration, and a large pantry adjacent to the kitchen where you can store all of your electrical items that don't have to be out on display in the kitchen. And then all of the glass tiles in the bathrooms, beautifully selected, high-end tiling, wood, wide plank wood, and a lighting package that just makes for an exquisite luxury product.
Are there any electronic options in this property?
The house also it's designed to work with a Lutron system so that you could control from your iPad or iPhone your cameras, your shades, your air conditioning, your lighting, and your AV equipment.
So Paul, the last part of this house for me is such a added bonus, is the outdoor backyard. Beautiful greenery, trees. What made you keep it?
Well, we took advantage of the property and the natural features of this property. Like the 2 oak trees in the front, the backyard has a natural screen of mature trees that shields the house from the city. So while the back rooms of the house have lots of glass, they take advantage of the trees and the buildings beyond, but they're sheltered from the city. And then the yard is also a great feature for dog lovers. We recognize that people have pets and they need a place where they let their dogs out. So there it is.
Absolutely. Jay, what's the house listed for and how can they find it?
The house is listed at $1,225,000, 3,620 square feet, and it's listed with Dave Perry Miller.
And they can find it at your website at daveperrymiller.com. Or if you'd like to see all the modern listings in Dallas, visit our website at moderndallas.net. Thanks. Modern Dallas Art this week is here at Bivins Gallery, and we're here to see the show, the solo show by Ricardo Paniagua, Miracles, Prophecies, and Revelations. And Ricardo, wow, that's quite a title of a show.
The truth is brutal.
What did I expect? So tell us about Miracles, and Prophecies, and Revelations. How did you come up with that?
Well, the truth is that, my art, I consider to be a selfless endeavor and act, and it's all kind of this transmission of energies from above or from outside of this, physical parameters. So throughout history, we've had people being accused of being, these, like Joan of Arc, they burned her, and then they later said, oh, well, no, she's a saint. So miracles, prophecies, and revelations, I believe that, those are phenomenon that any human being has an opportunity in life to experience. And I feel, honestly, like in my life, I've experienced this phenomenon all throughout my life. And eventually they became something that was able to be recorded physically and tangibly in the form of art. And so these phenomena have occurred in multiple ways in all of the work I've been creating over the last 12 years.
So your work, obviously, 12 years ago, I remember you at Continental Gin, and sort of in this particular show, which is actually wonderful, there's a progression of your work from the early days, some new introductions, and then obviously this, which is today. Looking through the show, how does that all evolve into Spiritus?
Well, I don't think anything really evolves, into anything. I think that life is only like this process of unfolding layers and revealing different, layers of our eyes, our own personal veils that we have the opportunity to kind of like evolve and move through as we travel through time. From the beginning, the earliest piece in here was very spiritual. I did a lot of spiritual work directly, After that, there's kind of like this process of art making that was so purified that it became so true that it revealed itself differently in the form of extremely tolerant geometric art in various forms, flat or dimensional. And more recently, or should I say most recently, this canvas here kind of pulled together all these elements that I had been kind of exploring throughout, the last decade or so. And, we arrived at this culmination, of these interesting forms of geometry, depth, symbolism, etc., etc.
So if I was to ask you, where did this all start from? Because I know...
Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, I'll just be direct. I mean, when I was like 4 or 5, I had some like revelations from the higher forces come to me. So when I turned like 16, started going through puberty, I started becoming obsessed with numbers and blah, blah, blah. And so that eventually, in a healthy way, became a part of my art making process. I didn't, when I was in my 17 or 18, I refused the notion of becoming an artist because in the history books, they said artists are crazy and they cut their ear off and blah, blah, blah. So I said, no, I don't want to be an artist, but I knew I was an artist. So one day I went to this church, and there was a church library, and there was this book on the shelf that I pulled out randomly, and it was called A Tree Full of Angels. And I just opened that book up to a random page, and the sentence I read said, artists are like poets, visionaries, and saints. They all receive revelations from God, whatever God is. And it was at that moment that I said, well, it's up to me to redefine for the future and for future generations and for children, what artists are, and to have, a chance at, becoming a positive role model as a contemporary artist.
Ricardo, whatever you're telling me is exactly what I see on the walls. It's your life, it's your journey, it's a beautiful journey. Beautiful work, beautiful sculptures. The show goes on through January the 20th. You can see it at Bivins Gallery, or you can visit their website at bivinsgallery.com. Ricardo, thanks so much. All the best for the show.
My pleasure.
Thank you. It's the holiday edition of the Dallas Modernist Meetup, December 13th, 6 to 8 p.m., hosted by Scott Plascuna in the Dallas Design District. RSVP on Facebook at Dallas Modernist Meetup, and we'll see you there. Modern Dallas this week is here at the Jean de Marie showroom in the Dallas Design District, and I'm here with Jean de Marie, the owner. Hello.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here in this wonderful space. Such beauty, such wonderful fabrics. It's a little eclectic as well.
Oh yeah. Well, the fact that it's eclectic is a reflection of what I did in my life. I was a chef, and then I wrote books, and then I decided to go into the design just day one to day two, because what I like is to create. So create a dish for the restaurant, or create a character for a book, or create a piece of furniture or a lighting. For me, it's exactly the same process in my mind. I just have to think about and follow the character or follow the piece of furniture to completion.
But characters are one thing. Inspiration for design is a different mindset.
Inspiration is everywhere. It's just a way to look at everything you find in the street on a different way. Some people, we look at the shoes and we see a shoes. And behind the shoes, we see the man and the story of the man. So big fashion designer like Yves Saint Laurent was inspired by the Kabyle or the Berber woman, and then they designed an incredible dress after that. But because they look at those fabric, they look at the hat on a different way that every one of us is looking at. So this is where it came from.
So we're talking a little bit about this new collection you've created. There's 10 or 12 new pieces. Each one got an identity, a personality. Tell us a little bit about the collection, the lighting collection, and a couple of the pieces of furniture.
Yeah, well, through the last 3 years, I pick up ideas here and there, and then the ideas stay on my nightstand table, and then some develop and some don't develop the same way. What I was looking for was for a different kind of material and a different look on everything. Lighting were inspired by the Nazca line, the straight line that goes from Nazca to Palpa and the village around, and everything else, it's on the same way, a reflection of what I find and look at around me.
So Jean, wonderful pieces in the furniture collection, but two that stand out. The Bryant credenza, phenomenal, and the Appier chair. Those have to have some story.
Yeah, well, the credenza, the sideboard, the door are pink. And in fact, I remember my grandmother to have all the time a potpourri, like every grandmother. And it was made of rose petals, and through the years they fade on a different way. And I tried to recapture that image. And then we finally took a piece of oak and we brush it. So when we apply the color and we wash it after, the line in the back are darker and the one in the front are lighter. So it reflects exactly the color that I have in mind of the dark petal in the back and the fresh one being lighter in color in the front.
So tell us about the Apia chair, because it's got such unique lines.
Yeah, well, first is the name. Apia is, if you want, happy. And what made me happy when I was a kid, it was a swing, because we all had a swing in the garden, you know. And I said, would be interesting to do something based on the swing, and before even reaching the name. So the swing has that kind of line, round line, and then I designed the chair. And what do you want to call a swing? Something else than happy. I didn't want to call it happy, so I just Italianize the word and make it happier. So I understand what that means. Even if people have a question, then we can explain. But originally, it's a swing that made me happy when I was a kid and still make me happy now.
Well, I can tell you, that chair makes me happy as well.
Good. It's all we want.
So you can see this wonderful collection here in the Dallas Design District on Highline Drive. Learn more about Jean de Marie at their website, jeandemarie.com. Jean, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And next time I will cook a French dinner.
There you go.
Okay, good.
To wrap up this edition of Modern Dallas TV, we cover local modern events and the art scene. Check out the calendar and the arts page on our website at moderndallas.net. There are always great events from the Dallas Architecture Forum, Preservation Dallas, and the Dallas Center for Architecture has great walking tours in downtown Dallas. Open houses every week, always a great selection. You can create your own mini mod home tour. And Todd Camplin covers the art scene for us, from art galleries to museums and artists. You can check out his page on the website. And lastly, if you're in the market for a modern, mid-century modern, contemporary, home, high-rise or loft, we simply have the finest moderns in Dallas. For this week, we appreciate you being part of our show. We'll see you later.